Dr. Subbaraj joined.
Hello.
Yeah, I'll be just get my background.
ऐसा करें. इसका प्रिंट आउट निकाल कर रखोगे. फिर पुणे जाएंगे तो प्रिंट आउट निकाल कर रखोगे इसका. हाँ अभी निकाल लेंगे.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, we are live at the moment.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Mr. Sengupta, I suggest you start in another minute.
Yeah. Can I start? Shall I start?
So please, sir, please.
Give 30 seconds. Start soon.
Good evening, everybody. This is Mr. Sengupta here. I am your moderator today for an important subject, namely, a very important subject, namely empowering SMEs for growth. Gentlemen, today it gives me pleasure to have two specialists on the subject to inform us and to guide us as to what is needed for empowering SMEs for the growth, which is a very important subject in today's environment. MSMEs form a sizable part in all sectors of economy, and so also in the service sector, to which consulting engineer belong. They contribute up to 9%. MSCs contribute 9% of GDP of the country. To enable them to grow and contribute to the nation's prosperity, they need to be reoriented their mode and style of functioning and be prepared to accept challenges, elevate what they can deliver. This webinar would help us to get an insight into the understanding of SMEs concepts, obtaining funding, infrastructure and financing, including the insolvency and bankruptcy code, package plan and risk assessment and management strategies. MSMEs gives employment to a very large number of persons. In fact, in India, it has been ranked as number 2 as a manufacturing hub after China. The government of India is keen to help the service sector grow and has therefore initiated measures as to provide the necessary impetus for making the SMEs a stronghold for nurturing the country's economy. It also desires that it becomes a major center for India's export. MSMEs and consulting engineers are urged to participate and understand how to take their operations forward for the good of all. And this particular webinar has been arranged for this purpose. Gentlemen, having said this, let me briefly say that there are basically 8 broad points that will be discussed in today's seminar. The points which would have an importance to be discussed are: importance of credit risk rating for SMEs to get better ROI and ratings. Second point, important aspect looked into by financial institutions while assessing SMEs for financing under term loans and working capital. Very important. I will read it again. Important aspect looked into by financial institutions, that is bankers and other financial institutions, while assessing SMEs for financing under term loans and working capital. This is the second point. The third point which we are going to discuss today is trade finance for SMEs with emphasis on letters of credit, forward contracts, booking, exchange fluctuations, etc. The fourth point would be vendor financing and supply chain management. The fifth would be technology motivation and blockchain with specific benefits to SMEs. TREDS platform, importance and benefits for the industry. And the last point of discussion would be restructuring for SMEs by banks as per RBI guidelines. And the most important would be the pre-packaged insolvency resolution plan under IBC 201. So gentlemen, these 8 topics would sum up the entire gambit of MSC's operations. And it will be a very informative webinar that we are going to witness in next few minutes. For this, I would like to introduce two of our specialized speakers, one being an MD and CEO of a bank, retired MD and CEO of a bank, and other being a nominee of government of Maharashtra in SME sector. I would like to introduce the first speaker, Ms. Lata.
So,
Ms. Lata takes over, has over 27 years of. Yes.
We'll ask Dr. Pradhan to have a few words, then we can introduce the speaker.
Okay. It is my privilege here to call upon Dr. Ajay Pradhan, who has been president of CEI and a very learned civil engineer and a doctorate in water resources engineering. I would request Dr. Pradhan to please take over from me.
Thank you, Mr. Sengupta. Very good afternoon and welcome everyone participating in this webinar. And it's a very important webinar for most of the SMEs, I think, in our country. As Mr. Dasgupta mentioned, empowering MSMEs for growth is actually the real call of the day. Let me thank all my colleagues and especially Mr. Maul, Dr. Subarao, Mr. Jeffrey Nambiar, and Mr. Uttam Sengupta of Western Regional Office of our Center of our CAI for organizing this very important webinar. It's really important seminar for all of us, especially for SMEs in terms of, as Mr. Sengupta mentioned, cash flows, loans, funds, service delivery, supply chain, and things like that. So I think you would listen to our keynote speaker for today, which will be the lead speaker, Madam Lata, as mentioned, that very experienced. I have had a little chat with her, and she's going to really take you through very, very informative and real part of how the financing happening and from bankers' perspective and how the government initiatives also supporting. Then we'll also have Madam Parinita Pandram from MSME sectors. I welcome both of these ladies for today evening, and they'll taking through and sharing the knowledge and experiences for MSME. I would encourage everybody to glue to this speaker's address and listen and put your questions in the chat box, as Mr. Dasgupta probably like to address them subsequently. As you know, that Consulting Engineer Association of India, CI, is the apex body of consulting engineers in India, and we have history for last 60 years we are existed. And we are the voice for all consulting engineering professionals and consulting companies. And this is a member-driven organization. And we are also part of, or we rather represent, International Federation of Consulting Engineers, which is called FEDIC. So that's how the CI is a little bit. And in the terms of this MSME sector, which is called micro, small, and medium enterprises, which has come up as the growth engine of the economy, especially in Indian sides. The sector is showing sign of revival after the COVID-led slowdown last year, even little bit of today in the early part of the financial year, but now picked up during the current financial as per RBI data. MSME has emerged as I mentioned, the growth engine of the economy with vast network of about 64 million enterprises, which contributes almost 30% of our nominal GDP or 9% of our real GDP. That's the figure. You can imagine the sector's growth and the employability and services. So that's how it is really looking at. The MSME sector has been rendered vulnerable by the pandemic, which necessitating concerted efforts to combat the stress and focus on the revival of the sector. And as you know that this sector has been hit very badly and hit hard in that sense. Therefore, the central government and the central bank made number of crucial interventions during this process last 1.5 years to support the economy's critical sector. And I'm sure that you also had, I think Madam Lata ma'am is going to take you through that. As digital capabilities improve and connectivity becomes omnipresent, technological innovations and technology-driven revolution are very fast poised and radically changing India's economy. And you all have observed that. Therefore, the digital technology has the potential to raise the productivity of services in agriculture, in manufacturing, in business process, as well as improve the delivery of our public services, like you see that healthcare sector and also education. And these are things which is also number of MSMEs are also involved. With higher financial inclusion and reforms in the sector, will further reduce the credit risk of an enterprise. And that's also another aspect. I am confident that the presentation, deliberation, the knowledge shared by our two eminent speakers today evening is going to help you or help us at least to understand various challenges in managing cash flows, securing fund in delivering, whether it's manufacturing or services. I think I'm sure that this is going to help us, enlighten us, essentially the finance part of our business. Thank you all, and I look forward to a very interactive and participating webinar. Thank you. Back to Mr. Sengupta.
Thank you, Dr. Pradhan, for this wonderful introduction. I would now introduce the lead speaker and the nominee on the government side.
Sorry, Sengupta sir,
Yes.
Parinita madam was saying something.
So before ma'am, can I take the presentation?
I would like to introduce you first, ma'am. I would like to introduce.
Fine. Okay.
I would introduce both the speakers of the day. First,
You can introduce, but I have to start with the presentation after, before ma'am.
I see.
Okay,
Jeffrey.
fine. Okay, fine. We'll do that.
So I think she wanted to speak before Lata ma'am. I think she wanted to say.
Yeah.
My one meeting is actually going on, so I have to attend that meeting, and that will be late if I present after ma'am. It will take too long time.
Okay, fine. We will accommodate. No issues.
I just got a call from the conference call.
Okay, the gentlemen, I will first introduce Parinita. And madam, I am privileged to have her in our midst today because it is she has agreed to deliver this lecture at a very, very short notice. And I'm really thankful to her on behalf of CI for having spent some time with us. Mrs. Parinita is an FIES, Indian Enterprise Development Service officer designated as MSME Development Institute, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. She joined the ministry in the year 2014. And completed her master's in chemical engineering in 2013 from Lakshmi Narayan Institute of Technology, Nagpur. She has worked at Raipur and Nagpur for the development of SMEs. She was recently been transferred to Bombay and has taken up as a position of an assistant director. I would now request Parinita to kindly go ahead with the lecture.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Jeffrey and the Consulting Engineers Association of India for inviting me and giving me opportunity to speak over here. Also, I would like to wish all of you a very happy Engineers Day. I think all of you are from the engineering background. So I think I should start with my presentation. Okay. Ministry of MSME, Ministry of MSME, Government of India is an apex body and nodal agency for formulating, coordinating, and monitoring the policies and programs for the promotion and development of micro, small, and medium enterprises. MSME Development Institute, Mumbai is a field office of Ministry of MSME, which is situated in Mumbai for the development of MSMEs in the entire Maharashtra region. Next. MSME Development Act 2006. As we all know, before MSME, the department was Small Scale Industries, SSI. So after this act, MSME Development Act 2006 was notified in 2006 to address the policy issues affecting MSMEs as well as the coverage and investment ceiling of the sector. The silent features added to this act was setting up of national board for MSMEs, the classification of enterprises, advisory committee to support MSMEs, measures for promotion and development and enhancement of the MSMEs. So before introduction of this act, it was small scale industry. But after this act, the SSI becomes the MSME, and the classification, the MSMEs, all the enterprises have been classified as micro, small, and medium enterprises. So after this act, the enterprise now become the Udyam. So this is what the enterprise, what is enterprise? You all know what is enterprise. Enterprise all of two types, manufacturing and service. This is the classification of enterprise as per MSME Act 2006. So as I said that earlier it was SSI, small scale industries. Now it become micro, small, and medium. So the category of the units like micro, small, and medium, it based on the classification is based on their investment. Earlier it was based on just the investment. But now again there is a revised MSME Act in which it is given the classification is based on the investment as well as the turnover. So you can see the investment of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Classification is based on for both the sector, manufacturing and service sector. The unit is categorized as micro if the investment is up to 1 crore, means less than 1 crore, and turnover is less than or up to 5 crores. For small, it is investment up to 10 crores and turnover 50 crores. And for medium, investment up to 50 crores and turnover up to 250 crores. This will be the classification of the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Next. So as per the notification issued by Ministry of MSME last year, means from 1st July 2020, micro, small, and medium enterprises now will be known as Udyam. So that's why the registration process is known as Udyam registration. So all the micro, small, and medium enterprises need to register their unit on Udyam registration portal. Website also given here, udyamregistration.gov.in. These are the terms for Udyam registration. This is general how to register the registration certificates. What documents you will require for the registration. You have to go to the website. You need to put your Aadhaar card linked with your mobile number, then PAN card attached to income tax, GST number. All these documents you should have with us before registering on Udyam registration. Next slide. How to register on Udyam registration? This is the I have already given the portal, udyamregistration.gov.in. Why we are showing this portal? Because there are many portals by private entities, which they also registered Uddam registration, but that charge some fees. As Uddam registration has no fees, so that's why we are showing this like the portal will show like this. As per the recent notification by MSME, earlier wholesale and retail sector was not included in the MSME, but as per the new notification, which also the retail sector and wholesale sector also included in the MSME. Now wholesale, you can see 45, 46 and 47 are the NIC code for wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicle and motorcycle. 46 is wholesale trade except of motor vehicle and motorcycle, and 47 is for retail trade except of motor vehicle and motorcycle, means those who are who just have the shops like retail trade shop. So those people also can now registered on Uddam registration. Earlier service sector was entirely out of the MSME sector. As per this NIC code, they have also included in the MSME. Next. This is one more provision made in the MSME Development Act 2006, that is delayed payment to MSME. As per there is one policy, we will discuss it later, public procurement policy. As per that policy, if any MSME participate in any tender or they supply any material to any other unit, so the buyer, here you can see the salient feature, the buyer is liable to pay the compound interest with the monthly rates to the supplier MSMEs on the amount at the 3 times of the bank rate notified by RBI in case he does not make the payment to supplier MSME for his supplies of goods or services within 45 days of the acceptance of the goods or services rendered. So if MSME supplies to the buyer through any tender or any deals, so if they didn't get any payment, so through this act, MSMED Act 2006, the buyer will be eligible to pay the rate of interest within 45 days period if he does not make the payment on time to the supplier. Next. Now the schemes of MSME. So these are the basic schemes of MSME, like what we provide to our to the people, like technical and management consultancy. Here we could give the consultancy about the PMEJP scheme project, how to start the business, like that. Then entrepreneurship and skill development training, procurement and marketing support, technology and quality upgradation. These are the financial schemes. Assistance for export promotion, international exhibition, study visit, export facilitation, cluster development, and then IPR, intellectual property right, incubation, innovation, startup design clinic, credit facilitation, Z certification, MSME technology centers. Then, so these are the schemes of MSME. Solar Mission, Honey Mission, these are the schemes of KVIC. KVIC is again part of MSMEs. Raw material finance, MSME Mart, infrastructure support scheme, single point registration. So these are the schemes of MSME. Next. This is project consultancy. Project consultancy, we provide project consultancy to the people who come to our office, prospective entrepreneurs, students, like product identification, how to start the business, product identification and site and technology selection, project report preparation, technical consultancy, application filling in PMEGP, Stand Up India schemes, licensing consultancy, finance assistance, HR management. So like these facilities, we give them consultancy about this. Now, entrepreneurship and skill development trainings. We conduct programs like industrial motivation campaign, then skill development programs for the student, for the prospective entrepreneurs, for the existing entrepreneurs, the people from the rural areas, for self-help group, for women entrepreneurs. So we conduct such kind of training programs to the people so that they will be aware about the schemes of MSME and they can start their business or any kind of business, if even if they want to start from their home, they can start with our finances scheme. Next, some kind of programs we have conducted earlier, industrial motivation campaign. Next, industrial motivation campaign is 1-day program. Skill entrepreneurship skill development program, it's a 42 days training program. Next, again, next, yeah, marketing support. For marketing support, in this scheme, we have a GEM portal. Everyone knows government e-marketplace, GEM, where the opportunity to sell your products through government digital mode. So this is one of the selling mode for the suppliers. Then second is the public procurement policy. Public procurement policy, the features of this scheme is a free of cost tendering, then EMD exemptions, 25% reservation to MSEs, including 4% to SC/ST entrepreneurs and 3% for the women entrepreneurs in government purchase. The price preference of 15% over L1. This is one of the scheme. The second is marketing assistance to MSME in for participation in trade fairs. Again, we give the reimbursement to the participant MSMEs. Next, this is government e-market, gem.gov.in. You can participate, or say you can register on your unit on this GEM portal, so that whatever the government tenders, it's not the tenders for the you can get on this website. So you can participate in tender. You can government can directly purchase through this portal from if you are eligible, or if you comes under the L1, then government can easily purchase the product from through this website from your unit. Next slide. These are the some success stories, the people who participated in the international trade fair, some in the domestic trade fair. Next, credit facilitation. Now, this is one of the scheme, credit facilitation. Here there are a few schemes of MSME which deals into the finances, like credit and financial assistance. There are 4 to 5 schemes where MSME deals in the finances, like Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, Credit Link Capital Subsidy for Technology Upgradation, which we call it CLCSS. Then Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro small enterprises, and 2% interest subvention scheme, and 20,000 subordinate debt for stress MSMEs. So there are 5 schemes which deals in the financial assistance to the MSMEs. So you can see interest subvention. There is, as a part of the access to credit, Prime Minister announces 2% interest subvention for all GST registered MSME on fresh or incremental loans. Those who are having their loan in the bank, they can take advantage of this scheme. They can get 2% interest subvention for every year on their loan. The second is Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro small. This scheme is for micro small. On behalf of MSMEs, the government gives credit guarantee support for up to 1 crore through this scheme. Next slide. This is Prime Minister Employment Generation Program. Basically, this scheme is for the prospective entrepreneurs, students, women entrepreneurs. Just for the new people, those who want to start the business, they can go through this scheme. They can get up to 25 lakhs finance for manufacturing business, along with the subsidy of around 25 to 35%, as per the criteria. Like if they are going to set up their business in the rural area or urban area, they belong to which category, like reserve category or general category. So as per their category and this criteria of the location, the subsidy is based. So through this finance is completely collateral free, PMEJP. Next. there's one more finance scheme is available with the banks, that is Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. This was announced in 2015. Again, Mudra loans extended under the three categories, the Shishu, Kishore and Tarun, the three categories of the finance. In Shishu category, finance up to 50,000, 50,000 to 5 lakhs for Kishore, and 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs Tarun category. So these are the category of the Mudra finances. Mudra finance is available for the existing entrepreneurs, those who are the small retailers or small traders or small business people. For them, this scheme is available with the banks. Next. This is the champion portal. Recently, during the COVID period, to have the MSMEs captured new opportunities, including manufacturing of medical items and accessories, to identify the sparks like that bright MSMEs who can withstand at present and become national and international champions. So any people having any problem regarding finance during COVID period, because everything was closed, like banks also closed. So in such situation, people they don't have any options where to go. So we have started this champion portal, so the people can register their grievance on this portal, and immediately we solve that problem. We try to solve that problem. Next slide. This is the technology and quality upgradation. Here, the one more financial scheme, like credit linked capital subsidy CLCSs. Here, the MSMEs can get the financial assistance up to 100 lakhs, means 1 crore, and for purchasing of machineries and for purchasing of machinery, they can upgrade their technology. If they want to upgrade their the technology in their unit, they can avail the subsidy under this financial scheme. Capital subsidy up to 15% and 25% for SCST under this credit linked capital subsidy scheme. The next is a lean manufacturing competitiveness program. Again, one more scheme is here, lean manufacturing competitiveness program. Here we give the subsidy for the lean means you all know that waste from waste. We have to reduce the wastage and increase the efficiency of the product. So this scheme is actually based on that. Next. Intellectual property rights. In all this scheme, we reimburse whatever the expenditures made by the MSMEs. If any MSME go for the intellectual property rights, means if they patent their product, so we reimburse for that. If they take the trademark, we reimburse for that. So the reimbursement criteria is like reimbursement up to 1 lakh for domestic patent, reimbursement up to 5 lakhs for international patent, reimbursement up to 10,000 for trademark registration, and reimbursement up to 50,000 for grant of geographical indication. So whichever IPR property rights, if the MSME goes for, we give the 75% of the total expenditure. We reimburse 75%, 75 to 80%. The next is business incubation. In business incubation, there is a grant in aid of rupees 100 lakh to HI or BM, means a host institution like to engineering colleges, any technical institution. We give grant of rupees 1 crore for the business incubation center. Financial assistance up to rupees 15 lakhs per idea. If anyone having any student or any professor in the engineering college or any technical institution having any innovative idea about any product, they can avail 15 lakh rupees per idea to start manufacturing of that product, or they can do any research with this amount on that particular product to set up the business on that product. And the next is seed capital. Seed capital money of rupees 20 lakh per idea. Again, through that scheme, we give seed capital amount of 20 lakhs per idea. The next is Z certification scheme. If any MSME avails this Z certification means zero defect, zero effect. The preferences in government purchase, subsidy up to 80% to micro enterprises, 60% subsidy to small enterprises, subsidy up to 50% to medium enterprises. So this is again one of the scheme. Next. This is MSME incubation center. Just now I told you the incubation. Component of the scheme is host institution or business incubator may get financial assistance up to 1 crore for purchasing of plant and machinery. The financial HIBI means business incubator or host institution. Host institution will be engineering colleges or any technical institution like IITs or ITIs like that. Financial assistance up to 15 lakh per innovative idea and seed capital up to 1 crore for startup at 20 lakh rupees per startup to start up the business. This is business incubation scheme. Next, this is not important. Next. MSME Technology Center. So we are now we have very few technology centers at various places in India. So now we are going to start more technology centers in India. Where technology centers where we can design and manufacture using latest technology. We will in technology center we provide the machineries of the latest technology to design and manufacture the product. Skill development, we also provide the training at that particular technology center and also provide the consultancy. So this type of products we can manufacture at our technology center. So recently we have 3 or 4 technology centers in India. We manufacture we use latest technology for manufacturing of all products in that technology centers. So this type of material we can manufacture at our centers. Even people like from MSMEs, they can take advantage of the technology center. They can also go and research at our technology center for any product, any latest technology. If they want to work on, they can take help. These are the areas of skill development. These are the topics for skill development. Next. Recently I have joined this office. So this is the for Nagpur region. We are going to set up new tool room at Nagpur. So next slide. Next. This is before that. This slide. Earlier, our minister was Mr. Shri Nitinji Gadkari. So he innovated this metro. They took one initiative to invest MSMEs for broad gauge metro. So now MSME is also going to invest in the metro, and they are going to run the metro through this project. This is innovative project came by Mr. Gadkari. So people also working on that. This is not yet in the picture, but the MSMEs are going to invest in the metro rail. So this project now it is for Nagpur, but this can come to Mumbai as well. Maybe in next coming days. Next, export promotion by Ministry of MSME. Export promotion, we have not complete export facilities not yet come in this scheme, but adequate flow of credit and financial institution. As far as export is concerned, we this follow some adequate flow of credit from financial institutions, support for technology upgradation and modernization, integrated infrastructural facilities, modern testing facilities, and quality certification. So these points we are going to add in the export promotion schemes. There is one more export facilitation center. It is not yet started in a complete manner, but soon we are going to start with this. So these assistance we are going to provide. Right now we are just giving subsidy on international trade fair, but soon we are going to help in further things which are required for export promotions. So next slide. Next slide. Assistance for export promotion. International exhibition. If any MSME participate in the international exhibition, MSME can participate 2 times in a year in the international exhibitions. We give financial assistance up to 1 lakh for space rent and 1.2 lakhs for airfare. And again, we conduct the industry association and delegation visits abroad. Export facilitation cell. Assistance in IEC registration, guidance for export import documentation, tie up with the international agencies for facilitation. So these things will come under the export promotions. Right now we are just giving the financial assistance for participation in international exhibition. This is international cooperation scheme. In this scheme, visit of MSME delegation to other countries for any product supply. If the MSME wants to participate in any meet at any country, so we can consider this that meet under our international cooperation scheme. Participation of MSME in international exhibition trade fair, buyer seller meets in foreign countries. Holding international conferences relating to the MSME sector to be organized in India by industry association and government organization. So these are the things comes under the international cooperation scheme. Next. This is not required for next slide. Next. Directly jump on to cluster. Next. These are the definition of MSME, so I have already explained. These are just on the Atmanirbhar Bharat. One more scheme left. Next. This is one more scheme of MSME, 20,000 crore subordinate debts for a stressed MSME. So if the stressed MSME need equity support, Government of India will facilitate provision of 20,000 crore subordinate debt. 2 lakh MSME likely to benefit. Means right now this scheme is in the bank. I'll give the detail. Subordinate debts will provide a substantial help in sustaining and reviving the MSME which have either becoming NPA or on the brink of the becoming NPA. Promoters may infuse this amount in MSME unit as equity and thereby enhance the liquidity and maintain the debt equity ratio. In a situation where on outright loan is difficult, sub-debt with guarantee will provide the requisite financing to the MSME unit. The eligibility criteria of this is the scheme seeks to extend support to the promoters of the operational MSMEs which are stressed and have become NPA as on 30th April 2020. This is the new scheme. Here the assistance is like financial assistance is like promoters of MSME will be given credit equal to 15% of their stake or 75 rupees or 75 lakh, whichever is lower. The maximum tenure for the repayment will be 10 years. There will be moratorium of 7 years on the payment of the principal. Guarantee for the sub-debt 90% guarantee coverage would come from the scheme, and remaining 10% from the concerned promoters. So this is the scheme of for the stress MSME. Next. 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 This is one more scheme, cluster development scheme. Cluster development is a concentration of interconnected enterprise and associated institution that face common challenges and opportunities. Next. Next. The objective of this scheme to support sustainability of the MSMEs by addressing common issues, capacity building of MSMEs for common supportive action, create or upgrade infrastructural facilities in industrial estate or clusters, setting up of the common facility center, and promotion of green and sustainable manufacturing technologies. Next. This is the cluster. Basically, what we do in this scheme, we provide financial assistance up to 20 crores to the cluster, means to construction of the common facility center. If suppose if we consider the garment manufacturing in a particular area, if there are more than 100 garments manufacturers and they are the small units, and if they required any if they required any latest technologies for which they cannot afford to install the costly machineries in their unit, in that case we consider the common issues of all the manufacturers, and we try to manufacture a common facility center. We tried common facility center where all the unit can manufacture or give the designs to their product. So you can see the cluster of MSMEs, and here is the one common facility center. This common facility center includes designers, testing laboratory, transporters, financiers, import agents. So everything we provide in this common facility center. Next. And we give the finance to construct this common facility center. The creation of tangible assets like common production, processing center, design centers, testing facilities. This is the common facility center. Government of India grant assistance. Government of India grant is 70% of the total project cost. 70% will be government contribution and 30% will be owner's contribution. Government grant up to 90% of the project cost for the northeastern hilly region, and project cost not exceeding 20 crores. The highest limit, the project cost should be under 20 crores. SPV should be a section of a Section 8 company. Before construction of the common facility center, the MSMEs should have to create one SPV, special purpose vehicle. That special purpose vehicle will be registered in under Section 8 company. That will be the private limited company, or it would be the society. The prior experience of positive collaboration among its members, no single unit to hold more than 10% of the equity capital. So this is the criteria, 10% in the equity capital. Next. These are some of the clusters that we have worked on in Nagpur. This is one of the garment cluster. You can see the investment up to 13 crore MSME made to purchase the latest technology machineries for this cluster. We have given the grant of rupees 13 crores for this cluster. This is the garment cluster at Nagpur. Next, the machineries. You can see the machineries. That is the latest machinery. The second is dal mill cluster. This is also set up at nearby Nagpur. Next, all the facilities for the small entrepreneurs we have created in this common facility center for dal processing. Next, this is a rice mill cluster. The second is infrastructure development scheme. This is about the project for creation of new or upgradation of existing infrastructural facilities in the industrial estate. For this infrastructure development, Government of India grant will be 60% of the project cost. The Government of India grant 80% for northeastern hilly region, and project cost should not exceed 10 crores for infrastructure development, and fatted factory complex it is 15 crore. Now there will be the contribution from state government for the land of the project. This is, you can see, contribution by state government or union territory government land for the project with the balance cost including escalation and excess of rupees 10 crore or 15 crore. Government of India grant will be released on the reimbursement basis or on the matching share basis. Means 10% state government give the grant for this project, and remaining Government of India. Next, this is flatted factory complex. Next, again, marketing hubs. For creation of marketing hubs or exhibition centers by the association. Government of India assistance to association for establishment of the marketing hubs. Funding 60% of the project cost, 80% of the project cost for association of women entrepreneurs. And project cost should not exceed 10 crores. If we want to go for the marketing hubs or exhibition center, the government will give the grant of 60% for the construction of the marketing hub or exhibition center. Next, again, the same criteria, SPV, we have to create the SPV, special purpose vehicle, registered private limited company of the 20 partners, 20 or 25. Next, these are the marketing centers, exhibition centers like this. These all included in the scheme of the cluster. So these are the various components of the MSc CDP cluster scheme. My common facility center, infrastructure development, marketing hub, thematic intervention, and support to state government and the cluster development. Next. These are the videos, but we don't have videos right now with me, so I cannot show you. This is next. This is one more scheme, Spurti scheme, fund generation. For Spurti schemes or the fund generation of traditional industries is an initiative by Ministry of MSME. So in this scheme, there is also a grant for the rural industrial products, artisans. We give the grant of rupees 5 crores for this Spurti clusters. Next. Lean manufacturing scheme. I have already explained this scheme. Lean cluster consists of maximum 10 MSMEs and minimum 4 MSME. There will be again the cluster of 10 MSMEs lean for implementing of the lean scheme. And the fund project cost will be up to rupees 36 lakhs, where 80% government contribution and 20% will be the private contribution. Next. You can see the waste from waste, like the cleaning. You can see all the what we apply here. Okay, next. These are the identified cluster, like the upcoming clusters in the Vidarbha region. Next. Next. These are the upcoming clusters. So I think this is the last scheme. Okay, next. These are not next. It's over now. It's over. Next. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful, informative session. It was not only informative, but it was very encouraging for entrepreneurs who are attending today.
Yes.
But for me, it is darkness under the candlelight. Let me be very frank. This is my personal opinion. How to get this spread to various sections of people in our country is one of the most important thing. And as I was attending a keenly observing all those schemes, I felt there is a lot to do. The GDP should not lie to 9% from SMEs. It should increase to at least 20%.
Right.
And then should not be 2%. It should be much more than two-digit figure. Wonderful schemes by the government, but as I said, there is darkness under candlelight, and we need to publicize these schemes.
Yes. We
More
try to.
people.
We always try to.
Wonderful schemes, and thank you not only for the information, but for the encouragement that you have put in us. That yes, there are things available if you go out and see what is made available to you by the government of India. I am really grateful to you for this short note, but in spite of this short notice, you could prepare such a wonderful, informative book, and we would look forward to have this presentation on our website. Thank you very much.
Uttam,
Thank you, sir.
Before Madam goes, there is one question by the audience, Mr. Girish
Please.
Wadhwa. Can I take it?
Yes, please.
He is asking Ms. Parniti, you have given grant to textile factories. That means you are not going to take back the money. Is it a loan or you give it's a grant? Can
No,
be
it is
considered
a grant. It is a grant. We have given a grant.
Okay.
So the scheme is basically for the cluster of the garment sector. Means those who are the small entrepreneurs, they cannot install such a big machinery in their unit. So we give grant to them, so that we made a SPV. We formed the SPV of 25 members. And we give a grant of rupees 13 crore. That was not the loan, that was the grant.
Thank you very much. And we can share this PPT with the audience, isn't it? What you have presented.
Okay, no
And
problem.
In case they have any questions, can they come to you directly?
Yeah, they can come to my office.
Okay.
They can contact me, they can meet me.
In fact,
thank
We will send.
Mr. Mal, in fact, we should see
Yeah.
how the CEI and this SMEs could work together and help our members. Because a lot of consulting
should.
firms are there.
Yes, if any of them has a issue, we can always go and discuss with them. No?
You can come to
Let them write
MSME
to
office
CEI.
anytime.
Yeah.
You can come
And
to
then we
MSME
can.
office anytime.
Yeah, we'll take the issue to them and let's see.
Yes,
And we get back to them.
because
Yes.
now it is also applicable for services. The classification,
Yes,
It's for
Yes.
services and manufacturing for both.
both, yes.
Earlier
Yes.
it was different for both the manufacturing and services. The criteria was different, but now it's same for both.
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Just now I came from Nagpur, so I didn't have any data of Mumbai area for this region. So have
No, we will
shown all
definitely come and
the
meet you.
Nagpur.
Our members will
Don't worry.
definitely-
We
Sir,
will
I'm
try and
going-
organize it again after a few months.
Yes, we will
Again.
organize it again.
Okay.
Thank you once again, and thank your organization on our behalf.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So good evening once again, gentlemen. It was a wonderful piece of information and lecture given by Madam Parinita. We are grateful to her. And now it is time to introduce the lead speaker of the day, Ms. Lata. I am privileged, in fact, to introduce such a specialized lady on the subject. Ms. Lata has over 37 years of experience as a senior banker. She was a former MD and CEO of Dhanalakshmi Bank Limited. And prior to that, she was general manager, retired from Punjab National Bank. During her tenure at Dhanalakshmi Bank as a MD and CEO, she turned around the loss-making bank and made profits for 5 consecutive years. This is a very big challenge, I must admit. She also steered the bank clear of PCA framework and turned around the bank in short span of time. Prior to Dhanalakshmi Bank, she had spent over 35 years with Punjab National Bank as its general manager, the largest public sector bank in India, which she had handled multiple responsibilities, including branch management, regional management, at national level, credit management, handling a profile of approximately INR 40,000 crores. As a general manager of Punjab National Bank, she was in charge of credit operations, a very important functions, let me admit, dealing with large corporate credits. She has handled finance, credit, strategic business development, people management, NPA resolutions, and audit. Her academic qualification include MBA degree with specialization in finance management, apart from post-graduation from Jadavpur University and CAIIB. She has also cleared the limited insolvency examinations conducted by IBBI and registered with IBBI and insolvency professional. So with this small introduction, I would hand over the mic to Lata for a very informative and encouraging speech. Thank you, Lata. Lata, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sengupta. I thank all the members for giving me an opportunity to speak. So is my this thing a visible screen?
Yes, very much.
No, my share screen?
Yes. No, screen has not come. No, screen has not come.
Okay. So let me just take the share screen because, just a second, please. I think, Mr. Nambia, it's better you do it because again, it is going off here. Yeah. A good evening to all the viewers and a happy Engineers Day, being 15th of September, being the Engineers Day in remembrance of Dr. Vishweshwarya of Karnataka. And I think this Engineers Day is celebrated mostly in India and Sri Lanka, not elsewhere. We had a very good lecture by Madam Pariniti, who has given you a very good details on what are the various schemes of MSME. So whichever slides are very similar to that, I'll skip that because it will only be, there's no meaning in just duplicating it. But basically, I'll talk more on the importance of MSME, what are the finance, what are the various new initiatives, what kind of funding you can get from the public sector banks, private sector banks, the financial institutes, what are the various risk aspects from the lender's point of view, as well as from the MSME borrower and entrepreneur's point of view, and some of the management strategies by which we can maybe see how we can mitigate these risks and how we can go ahead with these things. See, what basically the concepts of MSME, all of us are very much aware of it, that they are the basic backbone of the Indian economy. As we all know, they contribute about 9% of the share of the banks, of the country's GDP growth. And they are the second largest person after agriculture to create jobs. They have been creating jobs of nearly 11.1 crore jobs, which have been created by them. And there were more than 6 crores units, and I think as Dr. Pradhan in the initial stages said, there are now 6.4 crores units of MSMEs in India. So the maximum, see if you say 11.1 crore jobs out of the total adult population, I think more than 10 to 15% are in MSME sectors. The share in exports are more than 30% now. They are nearly reaching about 38 to 40%. And the contribution of the manufacturing MSME to gross value output, which is normally seen by the Reserve Bank of India, is around 33%, which has been steady over the last few years in spite of the COVID pandemic. Now, what is the importance of MSME? We may say, okay, we are doing it, but nobody seems to be giving a credit to us. They are definitely an very integral part of the supply chain management for the products and services. They are the largest employment generating sector, as I said, after agriculture. They're the most quintessential part of the Indian economy. When I say that they are the largest employment generating sector and they are an integral part of the supply chain management, we know that most of the MSMEs act as complementary to the large scale industry as auxiliary units, indulging in supporting activities. Like whether you take it as an auto industry, whether you take as a textile industry, the packaging industry, any kind of industry you take, they are there, which gives the support maximum to, whether it's a hotel industry, entertainment, any industry, they are a complementary to the large scale industries. And without these MSME, I don't think any large corporate can really survive in this country, not only in this country, world over, or they will be in a position to really manage the supply to the public, which they are able to do because of this complementary nature of these MSMEs. Madam Parinita has already discussed about the new definition of MSMEs. The only thing I would like to say, one advantage now with the latest definition, which the Reserve Bank of India has also come out with, that earlier the value of plant and equipment was always at the acquisition cost. So what was happening was a person who had bought a machinery of say 5 crores, even after 10 years, the banks would consider the value of machinery only as 5 crores and not under WDV. As per the circular issued on the 6th of August 2020 by the Reserve Bank of India to all the commercial banks and the NBFCs, now the cost of the value of plant and machinery will be at the WDV as at the last financial year and not the acquisition cost. This and the new definition of the plant and machinery in investment will definitely be a boost for the MSME industry, because most of them were stuck because they were not able to increase their turnover or increase their investment in plant and machinery because they knew the moment they crossed the threshold, they would be out of MSME. One more thing which the government has also done is they've ensured that the export related turnover will not be counted in the limits of turnover of any category of MSME unit. Though there is a limit of 50 crores and 250 crores, but in case you're doing exports, or if you're even doing deemed exports, it will not be a part of your export, not be a part of your turnover, it will be over and above your turnover. Next, please. This is, I don't think I have to repeat this because she's already said this to you. What is a new change in definition? The major thing is that there is no differentiation between now the manufacturing and the service sector. All of them are on the same level playing field. Now the service industry cannot say that we are not being given the level playing field. It is on the same level playing field now. What are the opportunities? See, MSME will say we need some opportunities. They are the most vibrant and the dynamic sector of the economy because they are the multifold contributions. As I said, in various industries you are contributing, and it is the backbone of the Indian economy. Maximum export, more than nearly 40% of the Indian exports, you can just imagine, is from MSMEs. And the maximum potential is for the Indian products abroad. You have easy access to raw materials, labor, etc. When I mean easy access to raw material, labor, what I basically mean is that most of the MSME industries are set up in places are set up in places where you know that you will be able to get that kind of a raw material. Like, for example, if you want, say, sports kind of a goods, if you go to North India, maybe Ludhiana, or if you go to Amritsar or Patiala, you'll find a lot of the sports manufacturing industries come up because that is where the hub is there. Similarly, labor. Labor is comparatively, you will be able to get local laborers for doing your kind of a work. In fact, I don't know how many of you must have read that recently after this COVID pandemic, a lot of these migrants went back, especially to UP and Bihar, because maximum migrants, especially in Maharashtra and even down south or wherever it was, from UP and Bihar. Bihar in Champran district has now started a couple of industrial area kind of a thing, where a lot of these MSME units, particularly in textiles, have started. And a lot of these migrant laborers who went back are able to get jobs there. So these MSMEs, whoever is doing an MSME industry now or who are a part of it, can promote these kind of an industries so that your employment generation becomes more easy, and it is improving not only the economy of the country, the lifestyle of all the Indians in this country. Madam Parindi has already spoken to you the various schemes where the government is promoting and supporting. The capital required is not very high because you can start a micro, small or a medium industry in various categories. Manpower training, you do require skill trainings. I'll be talking to you because you have NSICs who give you a lot of training for capability of manpower. These are some of the new policy initiatives of the Government of India. Some she has already discussed, some I'll just discuss with you. MSMEs have shown remarkable resilience and potential. Keeping in view the effect of the pandemic and the stress in the MSME, the Government of India has come out with the new initiatives to help the MSME. One is Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and one is Vocal for Local. Amendment to the IBC code by increasing the default amount from minimum rupees 1 lakh to 1 crore. Now, this amendment, from my point of view, I would say it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. Why? Because it is beneficial, because no case in IBC can be initiated against an MSME unless the financial creditor or an operational creditor has to recover minimum 1 crore from you. But it is a retrograde step as far as MSME industry itself is concerned, because you in turn cannot file against a big corporate for recovery of an amount unless that big corporate owes you a minimum of 1 crore. But I think overall this will be more beneficial because a lot of MSMEs under stress were owing a lot of money to both operational creditors as well as to the financial creditors. And so I think the government during the pandemic brought this rule, and I think it's a very good guideline of the Government of India. See, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, she has already spoken to you. I'll just give you a brief. There are 6 schemes, 6 reforms. One, as she said, was a 3 lakh crore collateral-free automatic emergency loan schemes. Now, the MSMEs have already availed more than, I think this is getting hidden here. I'll just tell you what is the amount. Substantial amount has been paid to them under the ECLGS scheme. There is a 20,000 crore subordinated debts, as you said, but though this debt has been introduced, it has not yet come into play where you can take a debt and convert it into equity, but that has not been implemented as yet, but it is in the pipeline. They are going to have a 50,000 crore equity infusion through the MSME fund of funds. New definition of MSME, global tender to be disallowed up to 200 crores. I think this is a very, very good step for the MSMEs. Earlier, they were not able to participate in many of the tenders of the government because they always used to say that the global tenders are more economical and more competitive. But now the government said the global tenders will be about 200 crores. I think the MSMEs will get a lot of benefit in this. Other interventions for MSME has already been mentioned. This is one thing which has been again introduced basically for the MSMEs is the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, PLI scheme. In March 2020, the Information and Technology Minister, he notified a Production Linked Incentive Scheme under which various categories, and some of these categories which have been added are manufacturers of mobile phones, allied equipments, pharmaceutical ingredients, medical devices, they would receive an incentive of up to 6% on the incremental sale from the base year 2019-20. Sectors like food processing, electronics, telecom, specialty steel, automobiles, automobile components, solar photovoltaic modules, textiles and white goods such as air conditioners also been added. In fact, I think just last week, the textile minister announced the textile PLI to be released, and I think substantial amount has already been released. The advantage in this is that since the base year is from 2019-20, the MSMEs who have not claimed this benefit can now do so. It is open for them to do so. It's not that 1920 means 2021, it's already over, they cannot claim it. No, they can claim for 2021 even today. So from the base year 1920, any incremental sale will receive a 6%. There are certain conditions, and one of the conditions is that the minimum incremental investment in the plant and machinery should be 10 crores. Now, there was two schemes, Vocal for Local and Ubarte Sitare. Ubarte Sitare was basically when the Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, she had gone to UP for certain MSME inauguration. She had announced this. Vocal for Local, if you remember, it was initiated last year. The government had initiated it, and it led to a tremendous reduction of nearly 25% in the Chinese imports by August 2020 compared to August 2019. Of course, one of the major reasons we have to understand is that the Galwan tragedy took place at that time when China had attacked the Galwan, and a lot of our Indian soldiers lost their lives in that. And there was a huge outcry in our country that why should we support Chinese? And along with the government also saying that we will support more of the local manufacturers, this really led to a substantial reduction, though it has slightly gone up. But still, I think today people are more conscious, and MSMEs have a major role to play in this because they can contribute to ensure that the Chinese imports are reduced and the local products are being used by us. There is an alternate investment fund with 200 crores of corpus. The Ubarte Sitare program, it is aimed at identifying the export-oriented units with technological production, process advantages in the sectors, and supporting them with funding and advisory services to accelerate their growth. And that is the reason this 250 crore corpus has been formed by the Government of India. See, all of us know that there is a factoring act, and only about 9 to 10 NBFCs were actually involved in those factoring services. But this Factoring Regulation Amendment Act was brought in 2021, just about 2 months back. The advantage in this Factoring Amendment Act is that it drastically increases the number of firms that can provide MSME funds against the trade receivables. This again was by Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. She said, I'm really surprised that in a country of our size, that only a very few people are giving this factoring, whereas we need more number of people. So she's liberalized the rules because the rules were so stringent that many could not participate in this factoring receivables. So she has streamlined that. So nearly more than 30,000-40,000 factors will now be available in the market, along with the NBFCs, banks, and various other institutes who will be able to do the factoring for the MSMEs, and the trade receivables will be easily factored by them. Another initiative is 20% of the procurement of all the central ministries, departments, and public sector undertakings will have to be only from MSMEs. They cannot take it from elsewhere. One more advantage for the smaller MSMEs who have, this will be basically micros. I would not say MS, this will be micros. Of course, they're part of MSMEs. The micro units who have a turnover of only 5 crores will now be permitted to do self-certification for their GST return rather than have a CA certificate return. Because this will really ease out their filing of returns and all that. Because otherwise, every time they have to go to a chartered accountant and get it certified, these will help them to do much faster and better turnover. So we were talking of the Udyam registration, which Madam Parinita was also talking of. The basic advantages of this MSME registration with the Udyam portal. I think many of you, if you're having already a MSME unit or an MSME entrepreneur, you might have registered yourself in UAM, that is Udyog Aadhar. You must already be a Udyog Aadhar member. Now, all of you will have to get yourself registered under Udyam latest by 31/12/2021. Now, the advantages is that once you register with this, you will easily get government tenders, because unless you're registered with the government Udyam registration, you cannot participate in the e-marketing system of the government or the state governments. The concessions, like getting a subsidy or getting a concession, the rate of interest from the banks will not be permitted, will not be available unless you are registered under the Udyam scheme. It allows credit for MAT, that is minimum alternate tax, for up to 15 years instead of 10 years. The rate of interest on the bank loans will be more attractive. Enterprises under UAM, that is Udyog Aadhar, will have to migrate before 31/12 to get the benefits of Udyam. And Udyam is not very difficult to register. As Madam said, she showed you the site also under which you can register. There are a lot of private sites, of course, which help you to register. But as she said, if you go through the government site, you don't have to pay any fees. It's like any other organization. When you go to a private organization, they will charge you. But many people who are not able to do it on their own, I think, can go to the private organization and get it done for them. Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, CGT MSE. Madam somehow said that you're eligible for 1 crore. But as a banker, to the best of my knowledge, what I know is the Credit Guarantee Funds for Micro and Small Enterprises is available up to 2 crores. I mean, I'll recheck, but this is what we were doing when I was also in the bank. And when I spoke to some banker even yesterday, they said, no, up to 2 crores, it is available for them. So this was basically launched in the year, I think about 10 years back. I think 2010 it was launched, if I'm not mistaken, to strengthen the credit delivery system, to facilitate the flow of credit to the MSE sector, create access to the finance for the unserved, underserved, and the underprivileged. During the financial year 2021, a total of 8.36 lakh crore guarantees have been approved, and an amount of nearly 47,000 has been approved. I've corrected my slide, but I think this slide I did not send it to him. Next one, please. See, these are the basic salient features of CGT MSE. That if you see that eligibility criteria is there, you can give the manufacturing, you can, I don't know whether I can expand it in this. Okay. So it is for manufacturing and service, including retail trade. Actually, what had happened was retail trade till about, I think, 2 or 3 years back was not eligible under this CGT MSE scheme. The government has then introduced it because retail is also a part of MSE, SME. So they have introduced it. So more than 100 MLIs. MLIs is basically your micro lending institutions. So more than 100 micro lending institutions and various public sector banks, private sector banks, NBFCs, all give you these loans under this CGT MSE. As I said, the loan available is up to maximum amount of 2 crores. Basic advantages, you don't need a collateral. Collateral not only in the form of any property or any other asset, not even a third-party guarantee is required. Of course, you have, the bank has to pay a premium for this, which is normally recovered from you. The guarantee so far given is about 45,851 crores for the financial year 2021. And the coverage is up to the term of 52%. And the new guarantees which are given, especially by the NBFCs, for which cover has been given, is for about 17,309 crores. So you can just see that during the last 1 year, during the pandemic, I think the CGT MSE scheme has really given a boost to the smaller industries like MSMEs to really come up and improve their production and everything. Now see, every MSME wants to know, how do I do business? What is the way of doing business? How do I ensure that my business which I'm doing does not have too much of issues. Now there is, I was just going through, there is one article which says Thrasio for small businesses. I don't know how much of it will be helpful for the present team, frankly speaking, because this Thrasio, basically what they do is that small businesses, earlier slide please. See, the small businesses and brands, actually don't have the financial capacity, or they don't have the technological capacity, or they don't have the wherewithal for actually growing. So there are a few startups like Global Bees, Evenflow, Mensa Brands, and some of them which have been modeled on, actually basically most of them, though they are in India, but basically they have the foreign support because they are modeled on Perch and Seller X to help these business and MSMEs. But unfortunately, what happens in this is those people take over your business. They tell you how to grow and how to improve your business. Next slide, please. But they do not charge you a fee and tell you how to do it. They generally take over the entire unit and do it. So that is why you see that many of these businesses, they have to go to the e-commerce market because they don't have that kind of a wherewithal to do it on their own. So they go to the e-commerce market. But even in the e-commerce market, today the MSMEs are finding it very difficult to actually get what they really require. Though they give the quality product there, but they are not in a position to bargain with these e-commerce entities also because of their lack of wherewithal to do it. So that is why the e-commerce entities have lakhs of MSME on their marketplaces, but they also find it very difficult to focus on each seller and help them. But these Thrasio, they do help you, but they buy it and then they scale the things. They don't help you with saying, okay, I'll give you a particular, I'll help you, but I'll charge you this thing. No, they're not doing that as of today. Maybe going forward, the same business model may change. Hopefully it will change so that they give the guidance to the existing MSME, how to scale up or how to ramp up their products, how to ramp up their production, how to ramp up their marketing or technology, and then go ahead with it. But as of today, they are only buying them and then scaling them, because we'll see an example in the next slide of a company called Baby Pro in Calcutta, which was based 4 years back, was selling the safety kits for baby proofing, and it was recently acquired by the Evenflow. But the promoter of Baby Pro is happy because he says that now the company is doing much better. They are having a better growth. But my point here is that in India, how do you price or value a product or value a company? It is very difficult because in India, we don't have any specific pricing. We don't have any specific valuation based on which an individual or a company can sell it. It is always based on the demand and supply like any other acquisition. If somebody feels that he wants to buy a particular unit, he gives you a better offer. But if you go to the market, you can't, like abroad, you have the system that this is the thing, 3x is the price, 4x is the price. We don't have that kind of a model, which is not it. Sorry. We don't have any model in India, which will set a precedent here that the minimum acquisition cost for this is so much. Like even in the IBC code, when I'm just talking about it later, you'll just see that there are certain things which have sold at 80% of the value. Certain things have been sold at a haircut of even as high as 90%. There is no fixed rate by which it can be sold or which should be purchased with. Any small business acquired under this model, for that person is highly profitable because normally the debt and everything is very small and he's able to scale it up. The challenge for this model in India is the ecosystem does not permit how to do small business acquisition. As I said, there is no model as such in India by which you can really assess the value of a unit. A person in dire stress may sell it at a very low value. A person who can hold on will hold on and sell it at a better value. Now, there are a lot of people who say that we are MSME and we want to register ourselves in the stock exchanges, but we are finding it very difficult to register in the stock exchanges. Yes, it is very true. Though the government of India has amended the MSME definition with the objective to push the MSME growth, and though it is, I think last year they changed the model, I think somewhere in August they did the reclassification, but still the development and listing it is still very, very challenging. Because you see, there are a lot of regulatory bottlenecks which are faced by them. As an MSME industry, I think, sure many of you who are small companies will be finding it very difficult to get yourself converted to a private limited company. The first change is in the incorporation level itself. As a proprietor or partner, if I want to convert myself to a private limited company, there itself I start facing the problem. The problems are, next slide, please. First and foremost, when I go to a bank and tell them that I've changed my partnership firm or a proprietorship firm, the bank say, give me a letterhead, physical letterhead. Give me a board resolution that along with the memorandum and articles of association, the board resolution stating that the board members have agreed to this. Secondly, these are some of the issues. What I'm saying is it's not that they're not surmountable. They're definitely surmountable. But as a small unit, whether you have the wherewithal to surmount these things. For example, in case you have more than 10 employees on your payroll, then you have to have an ESIC registration. And if more than 20, then you have to pay EPF. This by itself is a very good thing, no doubt on it, because when you have employees, you should definitely take care of their medical, you should definitely take care of the EPF. But when I have spoken to a lot of these MSME firms, when I was a general manager in the bank, they would always say, madam, we don't want to convert. The reason being, especially if you go to Kerala, some of you may be from Kerala, I'm not very sure. Most of them will have huge, cashew industries and everything, but they'll all be proprietorship and partnership firms. The reason is this, they say, the moment we convert, we have too much of paperwork. Okay, we are willing to do the paperwork. There'll be so much of inspections that we waste a lot of our time in handling these inspectors. And some of the inspectors we all know ask such questions, which is very difficult to, because there will be definitely some small things which will be very difficult for any individual to comply with. So these are some of the reasons why they say we don't want to really register it. Now, next slide, please. Though the Bombay Stock Exchange and okay, this slide has come. Okay. Even today, if you see, though the Reserve Bank of India has mandated that MSME is a priority sector, and as per the government, as per the banking law, 40% of the adjusted net bank credit has to be sanctioned and availed by the MSME. Out of this 40% is 18% has to be for the agriculture. So balance 22% can be given to the MSME, and out of that 7.5 to micro units. Public sector banks invariably achieve their targets because they're spread all over the country and there's not a much problem for them to give it. Or what they do is they lend to a lot of these NBFCs who in turn lend it to these MSMEs. But the private banks somehow are not very comfortable. With due respects to some of the private banks, they are not very comfortable in lending the entire portfolio to the individuals. So they do not mind investing the shortfall in RBI approved bonds. So that is why when RBI really did a study, they found that the actual percentage of credit to MSME is only 25%, vis-a-vis 40%. MSME in India prefer to stay away from the capital markets, what I was telling you earlier, due to the huge regulatory burden imposed by the regulator. If you see today, out of the Bombay Stock Exchange NSE, which have dedicated exchanges for MSMEs, less than 350 are registered, out of 1 million are registered on the BSE and only 200 on the NSEs. The reason again here is that if you are registered on the BSE and the NSE, you have to comply a lot with various regulations, right from informing them of a change of the board of directors, even one director changing, any changes in your financials as on a particular day, any key management changes. A lot of changes are there, which happens on a regular basis, which you have to keep informing the stock exchanges, because you are a listed company and everybody should be aware of it. So many of the organizations, MSMEs, feel that it's not worth the trouble to get yourself registered for these things. Obtaining Udyam registration as is a benefit for ease of doing business. And under Startup India, it provides a lot of benefits to the MSME, as Madam was also telling you. It is not compulsory. Let me make it very clear. It is not compulsory. It is voluntary. But if you register, you get certain benefits. Around 3.5 million MSMEs have already obtained the Udyam registration. Some of them are under UAM, Udyog Aadhar. They will also be getting registered now. The government must, of course, help you to do these on a faster mode. Then only you can do it. Next, please. The MSMEs come under the priority sector. Specific targets, I think that we have already discussed this. Okay, now we are talking of the funding opportunity. Actually, there's one slide, I think, which I've skipped somehow. It's the benefits for the MSMEs. Once you register under the Udyam, which Madam has already said, so I don't have to repeat it, you get the better interest benefit and all that. Now, once we come to the funding opportunities, when I mean funding opportunities, I mean the credit facilities which all the MSMEs, most of the MSMEs will require. There will be a few MSMEs which are cash rich, which may not be taking a bank loan or which may not be taking a loan from any financial institutes. But major people will be taking, and some of the opportunities for the MSMEs for this funding are advantages is because it is a priority sector lending by the financial institutes. Most of the banks like to lend to the MSMEs for various reasons. One, it's a priority sector lending. Two, the amount which is lent not being very huge, it is easier for recovery. And even let's presume an account goes bad, an NPA, it does not really affect the bank, because a big corporate of 1,000 crores going into NPA and an MSME of 10 crores going to NPA, there is a lot of difference for a bank. Specific targets are allocated to the banks, and that is the reason that banks do a lot of MSME loans. And as a banker, I can tell you, we all had specific targets. We had to achieve our targets. And we have a lot of these specialized branches which have been opened only for serving these sectors. So many of you, I mean, the CEI can talk to your members also and tell them to approach these specialized branches who will have the requisite people who will be able to explain what are the benefits and what are the products which a person can take for an MSME. Now, I am differentiating the different kinds of the funds available for the sector from a banker's point of view. It can be for working capital, which will be a fund-based or a non-fund-based working capital limits. And if you're setting up a project or if you're expanding a manufacturing project, it will be a term loan for a new project or for expanding a project. Now, when we talk of trade finance, now trade finance does not mean only international finance. Trade finance means both domestic as well as international finance. Now, trade finance can be by way of letter of credit, which can be by site, that is a demand LC or a usance LC. Now, advantage of a usance LC is the availability of the time period to make the payment. In case on imports or export of letters of credit, the suggestion from my side would be, as a risk mitigant, to take forward cover and to hedge the risk of currency fluctuations. But if you're already both an importer and an exporter, and if you have a natural hedge, of course, then you do not really have to take it. But depending on the situation, you have to take a call as to how much you want to hedge and how much of risk factors you're willing to take. That's why I said the banks and financial institutions normally advise for a minimum of 60–70% of hedging, unless a customer has a natural hedge in their business activity. Now, standby letter of credit is different from a normal LC. Let me tell you. Standby letter of credits are irrevocable agreements for the payment of money. They function like guarantees and obligations and are provided by the bank for the benefit of the beneficiary. It is not for the opener. See, this SBLCs are basically for the benefit of the final person and not for the opener. Now, I've given you a slide which will give you the difference. What is a buyer's credit and what is a letter of credit? Buyer's credit is basically what I mean by this SBLC, standby letter of credit. Buyer's credit, it is a loan, specifically a loan kind of a facility. And here, letter of credit is that you say, okay, after a particular time, I'm going to buy a particular product. So give me time for 90 days. Once the goods come back, I'll pay and all that. Secondly, buyer's credit is only given for high amounts like $100,000, $200,000, not for $500 or $1,000. Whereas a letter of credit can be for all. There is an interest factor in a buyer's credit because the amount is disbursed to the foreign beneficiary immediately. In letter of credit, it is only after the due date that the payment is done. So in buyer's credit, there is an interest factor. In a letter of credit, it is only a commission or charges which are normally charged. The parties involved is basically, as I said, is the importer and the importer's bank, and here the overseas funding bank, because it will be funded through some bank. And here it is again, of course, importer and importer's bank and exporter and exporter's bank, but this will only be the importer's bank, of course, will be the one who will be giving the LC. So he is morally liable to make the payment on the due date. The exporter's bank is normally only a collecting kind of a bank. He does not have any stake in that actually, except for collecting his commission. Again, funding, working capital requirements of the bank. See, now the question sometimes asked by most of the MSME is, how do we know what kind of a money will I require? So banks, as a banker, I would assess the genuine working capital requirements of the borrower, where I'll keep in mind the business cycle and the short-term credit requirements. When I talk of business cycle, because certain industries, like if you're into exports and you have a 6 months turn, 6 month cycle, I'll give you 2 times what is required. If your normal business, your turnover is once in 3 months, your debtor cycle is once in 3 months, I'll give you 4 times the amount. So it all depends on what is your business cycle. It is not fit for all rule. That one rule fits all or one shirt fits all, no. In case of limits up to 5 crores, banks will assess based on the NAI committee report, which is 20% of the estimated turnover. Now, working capital again, I can give in the form of a cash credit limit or an overdraft limit. Some banks call it as an overdraft limit. It can be in the form of a bill discounting limit. It can be in the form of a short-term unsecured limit for what is called as a short-term unsecured limit. Certain banks call it as an ad hoc limit, temporarily when you require it. The loans and the CGT MSE, bank guarantees, letters of credit. These are some of the various kinds of loans granted by a bank, basically by a public sector bank and a private sector bank. Now we have other organizations also which help the MSMEs by giving them the financial as well as the development gaps. Build in the development gaps and fund them also. This is by SIDBI. SIDBI, as all of you know, is a small industries development bank, which has actually been floated by the government of India. They have some various schemes. I've just given the names are also very nice names which they have. What is called a SMILE. Make in India soft loans for micro, small and medium enterprises. SEF, Smile Equipment Finance. Speed, loans for purchase of equipment for enterprise development. Speed Plus, loans for purchase of equipment for enterprises development plus. Tulip, top-up loan for immediate purpose. This is like bank giving you an unsecured loan for a short term. So SIDBI gives you as a top-up loan. Star, Schwaz, Arok, some of the various schemes of SIDBI, depending on your requirement. And SIDBI's rate of interest is also not very high, frankly speaking. In fact, banks also fund SIDBI for their onward lending also. Now, earlier we were talking of manpower training, manpower capacity building. So if you see, there is an organization called National Small Industries Corporation Limited. Now, what this corporation does, It works to aid, foster, promote the growth of MSCs all around the country. They help and they facilitate the MSMEs with specially tailored scheme. Because see, unless you know in a particular area what exactly you should do, you will not be able to really overcome the competitive spirit of that area. So these NSCs, they definitely guide these MSMEs where they should set up and what kind of business they should do in a particular area. Because like if you go towards south in a place called Salem or those places, you have what is known as a sago, that is our sabudanas. Similarly, if you go to a Sholapur side, Maharashtra, you have the bed sheets. So these people also tell you what are the schemes in which you should really invest, start manufacturing or start investing in. They provide complete integrated services under financing, marketing, technology, and other allied support and services. They also apply on behalf of the single MSCs and consortia of MSCs. They apply for tenders on your behalf because they know as an individual MSC, you cannot apply for a government tender. You cannot apply for some big tenders. So on your behalf, the NSCs also apply for the tenders. They help in the assistance of upgradation of the professional skills of all employees. As I said, the capacity building of the employees, the capacity building of the workers, the NSICs really guide them in that. They give training for all helps. Now this next one, the TREADS platform, this is a very, very essential platform which has been started by the government of India. And I think all MSMEs should really do their business on this platform for one major reason is that this factoring is without recourse. Once a person accepts it on the platform, tomorrow nobody can come back to you and say, return my money. This is an electronic platform for facilitating and discounting of trade receivables of the MSME. The sellers, buyers, and financiers are the participants on the TREADS platform. Only MSMEs can participate in this TREADS platform for selling, not for purchasing, because purchasers can be anybody. Corporates, government departments, PSUs, and others can participate as buyers, as I said. And who will be the factors will be banks, NBFCs, other factors and other financial institutions. They will participate as financiers on this TREADS platform. Now, what happens in this TREADS platform, as I said, is financing and discounting takes place. And there's a creation of, these are all the technical terms where you have a bill of exchange, which contains your invoices, which contains the sale of goods. And there can be a factoring, there can be a reverse factoring. And there will be an acceptance by the financier. That is, the FU is a factoring unit, where it can be a bank, it can be the third party FU between the buyer and the seller. And it is binding on the seller and the buyer that once he makes this commitment, he cannot go back on it. The payment made by the financier to the MSME at the seller is binding, and on the due date, the buyer will make the payment to the financier. That is a FU, whoever is discounting it for him on that particular day, he will make it. Because it's normally, when you do it, you always tell your banks that I'm going to do it on this TREADS platform. I want this kind of finance. The banks will provide you for that. It's a standard nomenclature. All these are technical terms. You can just go through it. And as I said, that these are without recourse. That is the most important in this last sentence. The transaction processed under TREADS are without recourse. Otherwise, invariably, the MSMEs find that after some time, the buyer returns it back to them and saying that I'm not interested in this, I'm returning it to you, this is this defect or that defect. Here, once the transaction takes place, they are without recourse. So I think TREADS platform is a good platform which most of the MSMEs should do for their debtors. I mean, for their this thing. Now, what I'm going to talk of is pre-packaged plan. This pre-packaged plan for MSMEs is actually, the ordinance was promulgated by the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Board on 4th April 2021. I'm not very sure how many of you are aware of the IBC code, which was started in 2016 by an ordinance and then by the Parliament, and it became effective from December 2016. In this, as I said earlier, 1 crore has been the limit now enhanced to, now earlier it was 1 lakh. a financial creditor or an operational creditor can go to the adjudicating authority, that is a NCLT, in case of all corporates and all LLPs, and file a case asking for payment. And once they're admitted by the NCLT, a resolution professional is appointed, and the board of directors of the corporate, they automatically stand suspended, and the resolution professional takes over the unit and runs the unit for the betterment of the unit till 180 days or 270 days, depending on the various categories, or till a resolution is finally formed. If no resolution takes place, then you go for liquidation. So this has been quite a successful one. And especially in the initial stages, if you saw, there were a lot of cases which were going in, and a lot of people have lost their companies. Big corporates have lost their companies. But that time also, the government, they had introduced a section called 29A, which stated that no promoter of a big corporate, either himself or through his relatives or through some known resources, can bid for this company, which has already become an NPA. Whereas they said that this clause will not be applicable for MSMEs. The reason being that in MSME cases, they knew that they are not huge companies, but they're big companies. There are a lot of MSMEs which are having a lot of turnover, like even a 250 crore turnover today is quite a huge amount, but they did not want these MSME units to lose it. But in that kind of a, what should I say, the plan, but there also the resolution professional would take over and he would run the unit. But now what the government has decided after the COVID pandemic, and this was also internationally, this is very famous, is called as pre-packaged plan for MSMEs. This has just been introduced in April 2021. And in the recent parliament, it was approved in the parliament also in August 2021. This basically is that, I won't read all these things, I'll just tell you, is that if an MSME is under severe stress and feels that it's become an NPO also, and it is still under severe stress and is finding it difficult to really come out of the stress, I think those kind of MSME should approach their bankers, make a plan, what is called as a pre-packaged plan, discuss with their bankers, and then themselves file a case in the bankruptcy court, insolvency and bankruptcy court, asking them that they want to go for this insolvency along with a pre-packaged plan. The advantages in this, I'll tell you, are that it helps you to make the plan yourself. As I said, the initiative is based on the trust model, and the amendments honor the owners by trying to ensure that the resolution happens and the company stays with them. They do not lose a company. It is expected to alleviate the distress faced by MSMEs due to the impact of the pandemic. Timely, efficient, and cost-effective resolution, because this resolution takes place within 120 days from the date of the application being approved by the NCLT. Of course, as of today, let me tell you, this is only for LLPs and for the corporates. Corporates in the sense, MSE limited companies. Timely, efficient, and cost-effective resolution. It sends a positive signal to the debt market, employment preservation, ease of business, and preservation of enterprise capital. Assured continuity of business for the corporate debtor, less cost, and maximum asset realization for the financial creditors. See, when the IBC code was formed, it was said that when the company is doing well, the equity holders will continue with it and the creditors will have no say. But the moment the company defaults, the debtors will have no say and the creditors will take control. But in this pre-packaged plan for MSMEs, the creditors will not take control. The corporate debtor will continue to run the company, but he will give the plan for how he is planning to resolve the issues. See, basically, you can say this is very similar to your restructuring. But in restructuring, what happens is you are under tremendous pressure because the restructuring is only for your interest amount or for your moratorium. Here, even the total amount can be reduced. assurance of continued business relationship with the corporate director, and the right protection for the operational creditors. In this, the borrower and the corporate director, the borrower or the corporate director, he or she submits a base resolution plan to the resolution professional. And the management and affairs of the corporate debtor shall continue to vest in the board of directors or partners in the case of LLPs. And the committee of creditors, that is the bankers. Basically, the committee of creditors will be the bankers. It can be one bank or it can be a number of banks. Will provide an opportunity to the corporate debtor to the base plan. And invariably, the COC will approve the base plan, because the reason I'll tell you why the COC will approve the base plan, if it does not impact the claims owed by the CD to operational creditors. The reason why the banks will approve the base plan is they also know that if they don't approve it, unless you give an offer which is too low, if they have to invite a third party, the amount which they're going to get from the third party is even going to be less, because we have seen the amount of haircuts which have been happening now in the IBCs. Only when the COC does not approve the base resolution plan, then the resolution professional will call for the prospective resolution applicants to submit a resolution plan to compete with the base resolution plan. Here also, unless they get a plan, and at that time also you have the right to say that, no, I'm giving a better offer. The pre-packaged plan shall be completed within a period of 120 days from the pre-packaged commencement date. So this is a very, very good plan for MSME units which are under tremendous stress and which have already become an NPS. Now, restructuring for MSMEs, this I'm sure most of you must be aware of it. The government of India through RBI on the August 6th, they provided a fresh lifeline to millions of small business people by extending the provisions of restructuring norms. See, normally second restructuring means, any restructuring means account becomes an NPA. But in this, the government said that any account which was standard as on 1st of March 2020, the borrowers were eligible for restructuring and it will not be termed as a NPA account. The restructuring will have to be implemented by March 2021 because they had given it during the pandemic period. The borrowing entity had to be GST registered where applicable. It's not that all entities had to be GST registered, because there are exemptions for GST registrations. Now, this is a resolution framework. See, what had happened was, a lot of people went to the court also and they said that we are having a lot of problem. We are not able to make the payments and all that. So Reserve Bank of India, under the expert guidance of Shri K.V. Kamath, they formed a committee. The committee's reference was to identify, because a lot of industries were in problem, both MSMEs as well as large corporates. So the terms of reference to the expert committee was to identify the suitable financial parameters like leverage ratio or liquidity ratio or debt serviceability, etc. They were to recommend the specific sectors which were under financial stress and what were the ranges for the parameters, because you can't have one size fits all for all the parameters. So if you see the report, they will say for this real estate industries, what are the leverages? For textile industries, what are the leverages? The different leverages which they have done it. So the committee recognized that the COVID pandemic has affected the best of companies. The business was otherwise viable. See, only those businesses which were viable under pre-COVID scenarios, they were considered. Impact was pervasive across sectors, but with varying severity, mild, moderate, severe. So what are the guidelines which they gave for this report? The resolution in this framework extended only to borrowers who are having stress under account of COVID-19, because practically everybody had it. And only those borrowers whose accounts were standard and whose accounts did not have arrears of more than 30 days as on 1st March 2020 were to be considered. The residual tenor of the term loan, supposing you had a term loan, could be extended by a maximum period of 2 years with or without payment moratoria. Or even if you had a working capital, you could say that my interest factor, everything be extended by a maximum period of 2 years. Asset classification will consider it as standard. Now, in case your loan was more than 100 crores, then you had to have an independent credit evaluation to be obtained from any one credit rating agency authorized by RBI like ICRA or CRISIL or Brickworth, any of those rating agencies which have been authorized by Reserve Bank of India. There are 5 parameters which the Kamath committee had recommended for this. One is the total outside liability versus adjusted tangible net worth, total debt versus EBITDA, current ratio, debt service cover ratio, average debt service cover ratio, and number of industries which they identify. Industries wise, I'm talking of, not the units, with 29 industries which have been identified by the committees under various categories as mild, moderate, and severe. Now, when we come to the risk assessment, see, as a banker or as a financial institution, there are certain risks which the banks or the financial institution takes. Similarly, as a borrower, when you come, what are the risks which you should also be aware of when you're coming in for a funding facility? The banks or the financial institutes checks the credibility and creditworthiness of the borrower. The credit score is from CIBIL and Equifax, and many times, depending on the limit what the customer wants, they may ask a company to get rated from a rating agency authorized by the Reserve Bank of India. In case you are into exports and you do not have a natural hedge for exports, or even if you have a natural hedge for exports, banks, exports or imports, whatever it is, importers, we don't insist so much for ECGC cover. ECGC cover is a must for exporters. Banks do have a cover, what is known as a whole turnover packing credit and a pre-shipment and a post-shipment credit. But as a banker, they would like you to take a individual buyer-wise credit also, policy also. As a banker, we would advise you to go for Forex, derivatives, and hedging. When I mean by Forex, derivatives, hedging, as I said, if you don't have a natural hedge, it is always better that you hedge what you're going to export or what you're going to import, because the volatility in the market is so much that your entire projections can go haywire and your entire project can take a toss in the air because you have not really hedged your funding. These are some of the risk mitigations. I'll just read out as briefly. Due to the resource limitations, most of the enterprises are typically very fragile with high, which makes them vulnerable even to the smallest tremors of instability in the business ecosystem, like pandemic. The one way to counter these is to develop a risk-resilient organization by leveraging the enterprise risk management to safeguard against economic instability, natural disaster, and cyber cases. ERM actually should be made a mandatory process, but it is not, because basically it's very difficult for us to make things mandatory. But if you follow a ERM process, it will improve the chances of the sustainability and successful longevity. But it's often perceived as an added cost. Anything which you add is an added cost, but it again, you have to weigh the pros and cons and decide on it. The survival of the business depends on the capabilities and to anticipate the threats and mitigate their impact. ERM equips the companies, whether they are small or large, to prepare for changes that are inevitable, and rather than waiting for anything, they proactively take actions in this. As risk-taking is a key impact of any business, see, whether it's a small business, medium business, or large business, risk-taking is a must in any business which you're running. It should be understood that in order to, you can't prevent or prohibit risk, which is not possible at all in any aspect, whether it's in normal life or anything. But to ensure that all risks which you are taking are with informed and in a conscious decision manner, conscious way of taking a decision. The suitable measures which are taken proactively can help in mitigating any failout, and the ERM, that is the enterprise risk management system, it plays a key role in protecting the assets and resources of an organization. And because of that, the risks are normally reduced to an acceptable, reasonable, and manageable level. There are various kinds of ERM. See, again, ERM is not one ERM which can be fit all. It has various this thing. In spite of all this, we find that in spite of the so much of initiatives given by the government of India, in spite of the initiatives given by the Reserve Bank of India, spite of the fact that in spite of all this, the GDP is 9% for this thing. Today's paper, if you see, it says that the chances of the NPS going up are nearly 10 lakh crores in this financial year as on March 2022. And major could be from the MSME sectors. Because the thing is that despite being a vibrant sectors, MSMEs have often struggled to grow due to lack of timely financing. As I said, every bank says we are giving a credit, but I'm sure a lot of you must be facing a lot of problems when you have to take credit because of certain reasons, whatever. High cost of credit, especially for the innovation-driven units, lower technology levels, upgradations, which is very, very essential, is required in the interconnection of the product and businesses and value chains, artificial intelligence, simulations, sensor-based technology. These are all a much needed system, but unfortunately, most of the MSMEs do not have any of these infrastructures. The infrastructure which is lacking from the government side, I would say, are roads, water, power. These in turn affect the profitability and productivity of the MSCs. Delays in settlement. Because of the limited bargaining power, though Madam Parinita said that there is a guideline that in case of a delay beyond 45 days, people have to pay 3 times the RBI rate. But it's very difficult when, as a small MSME, you have to bargain with a big corporate. It's very difficult. So due to limited bargaining power MSME in the market, the buyers usually have a very long settlement lead time when they deal with big corporates, which in turn affects the cash flow of the unit. And actual credit period is 45 days, but invariably there is a delay. Though, of course, the government has said that during the year 2021, they had made a lot of these units settle their claims to the MSMEs, but how much actually has been received by MSME is not really known. Last but not the least, these are the visions which have been set by the government of India. Increase the textile business, because as I said, just last week, the textile minister has announced the production linked incentives for the textile. So he has said that increase the textile business by 350 billion, including USD 100 billion exports by 2026, setting up of mega textile parks to boost exports. See, this will give an opportunity to more than 7.5 lakh people directly and several lakh of people indirectly for the textile units. And this will help a lot of women to empower, because a lot of textile units, if you see, mostly the women work as in the textile units. There's also an impetus to make in India, because this PLI is only for the manufacturing companies registered in India. It's not for the foreign corporates. The pending export incentives, again, the government has announced, of 56,000 belonging to MSME has been released, which out of which 98% of SME exporters have got the benefit. For merchandise exports, all sectors covered in the merchandise exports from MSCs, including pharmaceuticals, iron and steel engineering, chemicals, would be able to claim benefits for exports made in the earlier years. So they have said it is not that you cannot claim now, you can still claim in case you have not claimed so far. Now, recently they have said that service sector, there's no differentiation between the service and the manufacturing sector. So the service sector, I find that has contributed nearly 40% to the India's exports and 54% of the economy, according to the economic survey of 2021. Now, some of the things what people feel, how the service sector can really go looking beyond software, because all that we talk of service sector in India is mostly that the software industries. Whereas we can be a very good repair hub, for electronic repairs, vehicle repairs. We have a tremendous tech force, but we are not able to really encash on it. Hospitality and tourism. In fact, long back, we were one of the very good hospitality, and tourism was really doing very well. But post-pandemic, and now, of course, with the Afghanistan crisis, it has taken a beating. But I think this is one industry MSME can really do well. And this will again boost up not only the MSME industry, but the economy of the country. Medical tourism, Many of us will remember during that time when the Arab countries had a lot of oil, all of them would travel to India for their medical tourism. Again, that should really be given a boost so that the economy improves, the people get the benefit, and naturally the MSME industries do get an added advantage in that. Now, I think I've spoken quite a bit. So I'll just conclude by saying that, I mean, I have not basically talked of the vendor financing because again, that's a long subject because you have a lot of artificial intelligence where people are doing it for vendor financing where you get the immediate payment, but that will take a long time. So I've not really gone much into that. I just conclude by saying that MSMEs are the growth engines. They propel job creation, urbanization, health, education, and improve the general quality of life of all the people. MSME should make use of the various benefits offered by the government and do the best to enable the country to realize its ambitious goals of made in India, a self-reliant India, through the development of goods and services and substitute the imported goods and services and to improve the export performance. See, one thing I really like to tell all the MSME people is one thing where I think we all of us lack is the final quality. See, we sometimes, some of them, I'm not saying all, a few of them do a lot of shortcuts when it comes to quality control. And that's where we lose out a lot on these export benefits. Maintaining efficiency in cost, upgradation of product with the changing mindset of the customers, some of the parameters if the MSMEs have to succeed. Healthy growth of the MSME is a key aspect for building India's economy, especially in the post-COVID. And I think the MSME sectors have risen to this challenge and have really done very well. And India's MSME for exports, merchandise exports, is expected. It stood at nearly, I mean, yesterday's paper I saw, it stood at nearly 67%. There is an increase over 2021. Of course, 2020 was maybe the pandemic, you can say, as on August 2021. But even over 1920, which was a normal year, there has been an increase of 23%. That means there is a substantial improvement by the merchandise exports. And I think going forward, there can be a much more which can take place. So I thank you. I thank Mr. Uttam. I thank Mr. Mal. I thank Mr. Nambiar. I thank Mr. Subrod. I think Dr. Ajay Pradhan is not there. So I thank him also. And I thank all the people for an opportunity to give me to speak a few things. And if I missed out something, you can ask me. I'll be able to say if I have missed out anything. I don't think I missed out. And it is a really good opportunity and a happy Engineers Day to all the people because all of you being from the consultant engineers are all engineers. Thank you very much.
Lata, thank you very much. It was not only informative, but it was a very educative lecture for us. It was really educative. Some of the aspects which you have referred, especially the packaged packaged insolvencies. What I could hear that
Pre-packaged insolvency.
Pre-packaged insolvency resolution plan under IBC 2001 is really very useful. 2016 is really very useful today. And we should make a note of it. And secondly, the trade platform which you have talked about and that without recourse thing is also very important. I think besides the other topics that you have touched upon, particularly on the distinction between buyer's credit and LC and all those things, for a common man like us, it becomes a very important and educative piece of information. I am thanking you from the bottom of my heart for all this trouble. I would leave this now. What I would do is that I would leave this session open to question and answers. If somebody from the audience would like to ask any question or get any clarification, they may please. I would then sum up a little bit.
So I'll take the question and answer. There are about 4 questions raised by Mr. Umesh Dalgarkar. He's a consulting engineer. His first question, now I think I should address this to Madam Lata. Is it necessary to have Udyam registration to approach MSEFC? Madam Lata?
Yeah, See, the question is that if you want to be in an MSCFC, you have to definitely, either you'll be under Udyam Udyog Aadhar registration. Are you under Udyog Aadhar? If you're under Udyog Aadhar, you have to register under Udyog Udyam, because the time given to you is by 31st December. And if you do not, because these are all a part of the Samadhan. So either you are, if you are a UAM as of today, you can still go to the Samadhan, because MSCFC is what? It's a conciliation. It has been set up by the MSME people under the MSCFC. So you have to be registered either in the Udyog Aadhar module or into the, which will then automatically go into Udyog. Otherwise, you can go straight away to the normal conciliation.
So his second question is, if our contract has an arbitration clause, can we still approach MSEFC rather than opt for arbitration?
See, it depends, because if your contract does not specify MSCFC, generally, and if the purchaser, the other person, okay, you are a seller, but if the purchaser is a non-MSC as MSME, he may not agree to come to MSCFC, frankly speaking, because the MSCFC is more favorable to an MSME unit and not to a non-MSME unit. Because supposing he wants to appeal against it, let us presume, he will have to pay 75% of the amount before he can even appeal. So you have to specify in your contract whether you are going for a normal conciliation or whether you want to go under MSCFC. Normally, a non-MSME purchaser will not like to go under MSCFC contract. Normally.
Thank you. The third question he asked, does the law of limitation apply to disputes referred to MSCFC? If yes, in what manner and from which date do they apply?
See, law of limitation is very independent of all these things. It applies to anything, any contract, and it applies on the date when the dispute starts or when the payment is due. Supposing you have purchased an article today and the payment is due, say, on 30th of September, and you don't make the payment on 30th September, then and the person has given you a notice. Even if he doesn't give you a notice, he has to file a suit within 3 years from 30th of September if he wants to avail the limitation benefit. Limitation, even in IBC, has been very clearly mandated that limitation clause is independent of any other act. It is applicable. From the date of the actual due date, within 3 years, you have to file your limitation. Unless it is for, of course, since you're talking of MS. Otherwise, for real estate and all, there are different periods available. 12 years and 30 years are there. But otherwise, 3 years.
Thank you, madam. You have clearly answered it. Now, there is one more question he has raised, which I'll address to Madam Parnita, because I can see that she has joined back. Madam Parnita, you're there, right? So
Yes.
he is asking.
Question for ma'am.
1 minute, one question I'm asking. Are there any special incentives or facilities which are available only to micro enterprises?
For micro, just like when you participate in any tender, there will be provision of 20% of the total annual procurement, which can be awarded to the MSME for MSE micro enterprises. And if you belong to any category, then there will be provision of 4% extra. And if there is a woman entrepreneur, then there will be the provision of 3%.
Thank you, Madam Parnita. Umesh Saab, if you have any more questions, please type it. And I'll take the next question from Mr. Selvaraj Swami to Madam Lata. He would like to discuss on calculation of working capital requirements. Could you give him a few tips?
See, working capital requirements, as I said, you base it on, if it is less than 5 crores, we go as per the Nayak committee recommendation, which is 20% of the turnover. If it is other than that, there are 2-3 ratios which the bank normally looks at. Is your working capital cycle, is the net working capital, and your actual sales turnover for the last 2-3 years, if it's an existing company, and your projections. If your projections are reasonable, then they will accept it based on the projections, your current ratio, your net working capital, and your turnover cycle. These are basically the basic thing which they will look at it besides the various other ratios for a working capital. Again, it depends on what is going to be your book debts limit, what will be your inventory limits. That will be again worked on what you're going to give as your creditors, what you're going to give as your debtors. That would actually work out on your PBF, permissible bank finance. All banks have what is called a MPBF calculation, maximum permissible bank finance. So they will work it out on that.
Thank you, Madam Lata, and thank you, Madam Paranita. There are no more questions, but participants are asking for the presentation on the chat. They have not put any questions in the Q&A. So some people are saying that for micro organizations, most of our consulting engineers are micro. The ERP, SIDBI, and other topics have been very useful. Basically, they are thanking you all for all sharing all the knowledge. And okay, there is one question. Oh, Madam, from Parnita has raised a question to Madam Lata. Recently, there is RBI guidelines for restructuring. So what is the criteria for that and what the bank could do in that? Madam Lata.
Yeah, see the criteria RBI guidelines was as it is in 2020, August, they had raised a guideline that whatever account was standard as on 1st of March 2020, the banks were to give them a restructuring, and they were also to not to treat their account as NPA and to give them a 20% increase in their limit based on their turnover. And this additional limit could also be given a moratorium period. All the banks I've discussed with them have already considered wherever it has been eligible, and all of them have been given their limits. But unfortunately, what has happened is most of these units are still under stress even after 1 year. And so that is going to create a problem because even now they are not able to actually come out of that stress. But the banks have followed the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India by giving the additional 20% limit, what was required to be given to them, and not treat their asset as an NPA.
Thank you, Madam Lata. There is one question for Madam Paranita. Mr. Shankar Gore is requesting the following. For a newcomer, what is the approach towards MSME? That is what he is asking. Probably he might have missed some of the lecture, but for a newcomer, what is the approach? Could you, Madam Paranita, kindly give?
Yes, for newcomer, if he wants to start any business, they can go for and they need finance, they can go with the PMEGP scheme, Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, with a less investment up to 25 lakhs for manufacturing business. And they can visit our office. They can go through our website. There is a detail of the schemes given on our website, www.dcmsme.gov.in. They can visit the website and see the details.
Thank you, Madam Parnita. There are no more questions. So with the permission of the chair, moderator, and our association, do I have the permission to close this?
I would only sum up a few lines, taking into consideration both the speakers, just few lines that I would like to sum up, if permitted. Jeffrey?
100%, sir. You're the boss.
So, gentlemen, we had a very, very informative and educative lecture from both the participants. And what I gather is that the government of India is also keen to help this MSME sector grow and has therefore initiated measures to provide the necessary impetus for marking the MSMEs stronghold for furnishing the country or for nurturing the country's economy. It also desires that it has become a major center for India's exports. With these few words, I would like to sum up today's session, and I would like to thank once again both Parinita and Lata for the very informative, educative, and encouraging lectures. Thank you.
Thank you, Uttam sir. You have looked after us through this whole webinar and supported us to organizing it. And we must thank you very much.
It has always
always being our mentor at the back of the scenes in spite of your retired life and having all sorts of other problems. Thank you, Mr. Mull, for always. Mr. Mull is quiet in the background. We can't hear him and see him. He switched off his camera also. But Mr. Mull is the brainchild behind all our
Your video is
programs.
off, Jeffrey.
Okay. I'm giving you the videos of the. Okay.
Malsab, some few words from you. Some few words from Malsab.
I think it's been very informative, the whole gamut of MSMEs, how they are to be treated, how the government is really treating them and trying to benefit them. But it is now up to the people concerned to really go deep into the matter and see how they can raise their bar. But in doing so, everything must be done ethically. We're engineers, and ethics must be on top of our mind. And like Ms. Lata cautioned, no sacrificing quality. That has to be paramount. For engineers, engineering and technical excellence has to be a must. All the rest will follow if you stick to these two. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malsab, for this information and wonderful advice.
Thank you, Malsab. I'd like to thank our CI Secretariat for supporting us in this initiative, and they're always there looking after us. Thank you, Mr. Maini and your team. Thank you, Dr. Pradhan, for all your help and looking and giving us the directives. And I just wanted to say a few things to Madam Parniti. May I take that, Parinita, may I take that opportunity? As consulting engineers, those who follow the system, they pay the taxes in advance, as everybody does, which is a service tax, without receiving the payment from the corporate or the clients. Now, 18% is paid in advance, and when the payments are delayed for months, not days, not 45 days, months and 6 months, and sometimes a year, plus if the payment comes, the corporate reduces another 10% as tax deducted source. So total of almost 30% is lost by the rules and regulations for a small micro organization or a medium organization, where every rupee counts for them. They are trying to, the challenges they are facing in managing their capital flow is huge, and trying to deliver a service and a product. I don't think our government has any changes in that, but if this can be discussed in any other forum, it would help us from the consulting engineers, because we have so many members. Sure. All of them are facing the same issues. Mainly, I don't see in any of your schemes that the taxes are supported. I'm not sure. I didn't see anything whether the advance tax that we pay, all the consulting engineers pay to the government, is supported anywhere. It comes back from the client maybe after a few months, and that really is a challenge month in and month out. And there's a time limit that up to the 7th of the next month, it has to be paid. So the challenge for a micro organization is, do I pay salaries or do I pay tax? You know, if it goes into lakhs and lakhs of rupees, do I pay a salary to my engineers, all my staff, or should I give the priority to the tax? Otherwise, I get penalized. So I'm just taking this opportunity to highlight, because you're from the government, if at all you're talking in any forum, it might help. CI is already following up from the apex body with the government, but these are challenges what we are facing. If the tax could have been collected from the corporate directly, that would have saved the advance tax that anybody has to pay. But anyway, that's for a different forum. It's just one point which I wanted to make. And with that, we were so excited to see that the government of India is supporting technology, supporting financials, supporting guarantees for MSMEs, especially in this difficult time. And we must congratulate all the directors of MSME and all Government of India professionals who are tailoring all these schemes to help the stress sector. Thank you very much once again to all our audience. There are a few, at least 50% have left. We had about 100 registrations, but I'm sure all are busy, so they couldn't attend. We will upload all these slides on CI website. A few people have posted their emails. I'll reply them personally. And thank you, everybody. Shall I close, Malsa?
Yes, sir, please. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.